You know, here's something that younger people might not understand today. Back in the day, we actually had roller skating crews. I'm serious. We actually gave ourselves names. One year, my friends and I, we were the Flying Lions. Another year, we became the Zodiacs. We even had t-shirts with Zodiacs written across the back and our Zodiac symbol on the front. We thought we looked like celebrities. Although the truth is we probably just looked like a bunch of kids with matching t-shirts. But we didn't care because we belonged. And that's what made roller skating rinks so special. There was a time when your entire weekend revolved around one building, the roller rink. Not because your parents made you go, but because that's where everybody was. If you missed a Friday night, you spent the entire next week hearing about everything you missed. Who was there? Who asked who for couple skate? Who wiped out? And who suddenly showed up with a brand new pair of skates? Walking into the roller rink was always the same though. Before you even got in the doors, you'd hear that music just pulsating. But the very first thing you did when you first got in, you didn't skate. You looked around for your friends. Once everybody found each other, then the night officially started. But going back to walking in, the first thing you would do is actually have that smell, that mixture of pizza, popcorn, floor wax, kids' colognes like Fabergé Babe and Fabergé Brut. And somehow, all these years later, your brain still remembers every bit of that stuff. But usually around 6:30 p.m., the skating sessions would begin. The lights were low, the disco ball started spinning, color lights danced across the floor. And if they turned on the black lights, suddenly every white t-shirt, every white shoelace, even the wheels on some skates started glowing. We thought it was the coolest thing we'd ever seen. For the next few hours, it felt like your own little world. Nothing else mattered. School didn't matter, homework didn't matter, chores didn't even matter. For those few hours, life was perfect. Every every roller skating rink actually had its regulars. Usually had the same DJs, the same birthday parties were basically the same no matter where you went. There's always the same people who showed up every Friday night. Same guy who could skate backwards without ever looking where he was going. There was the same couple that skated so perfectly together you couldn't help but stop and watch them every single week. After a while, it didn't even just feel like a roller rink. It felt like family. Then there was those skaters. There was those skaters. Every rink had them. People who could skate backwards, they can cross their feet, spin around, weave through a crowd, carry on a conversation, never touch the wall, and somehow they never ever fell. They made it look effortless. But the rest of us, we would watch them and say, yeah, I can do that. Turns out, no, no, we couldn't do that. We'd spend half the night trying to skate like them and realizing we weren't even close. Then there was the skates themselves. Rental skates, they were fine. But if you were serious, like most of my crew, you wanted your own skates. There was like this little shop actually near where I lived, where I grew up. It would actually turn your sneakers into roller skates. First, you'd pick out your favorite pair of sneakers. For us, it was either Converse Chucks or Pro Keds. There's just something about those Pro Keds with the red and blue power stripes. I love them. Anyhow, they bolt real skate plates underneath your sneaker, mount those shiny polyurethane wheels, pack in awesome bearings, and suddenly you felt like the fastest skater in the building. I honestly can't remember the brand names of all the hardware, but back then everybody knew who had the fastest wheels, the smoothest bearings, and the nicest setup. Your skates weren't just something you wore, they were part of who you were. Kind of like customizing your very first car. And isn't it funny? Even today, if I hear the sound of roller skate wheels clicking across a hardwood floor, I'm 14 years old again. Anyhow, then came the games and the special skates. Speed skate, limbo, backward skate, red light, green light. Everybody had their favorite. But then it happened. The music slowed down. The lights dimmed just a little more. The DJ would then grab the microphone and said, all right, everyone, couple skate. Suddenly, all those fearless members of the Flying Lions and later the Zodiacs, they weren't feeling nearly as brave anymore. Every teenage boy in that building suddenly had exactly the same problem. Who do I ask before someone else does? You spend 5 minutes trying to work up the courage to ask one girl, hoping she wasn't already skating with somebody else. And if she said no at 14 years old, it felt like the end of civilization. But of course, one of the best parts of the whole thing was the music, the songs. Songs like YMCA or Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry, Get Down Tonight by Casey and Sunshine Band. And then the big one. The big one for all skating rinks, Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. The first three beats of that song, and suddenly people came flying into the floor from every direction. We all thought we knew every word. Well, at least the first couple of verses. After that, it was mostly, enthusiastic mumbling. We were confident, just not correct. But somehow, every single one of us absolutely nailed Hotel, Motel, Holiday Inn. Songs that you probably swore you'd never admit that you knew until one comes on today, and somehow you still remember every single word. Funny how that works. And of course, no skating night was complete without the snack bar. Greasy pizza, French fries, nachos, soft pretzels, a giant soda that somehow disappeared in about 10 minutes. No matter how many laps you skated around that rink, somehow everybody ended up back at the snack bar sooner or later. But then, as with everything, before you knew it, around 9:30 p.m., every kid in that building dreaded the same thing. The house lights came on. Bright, glaring bright. No more disco ball. The rink suddenly looked ordinary. It was amazing how fast the magic just disappeared. It was the rink's way of saying, all right, everybody, it's time to go home. You look at your friends and think, already? It always felt like the night ended way too soon. But during those hours of actual skate time, if the DJ announced your birthday over the speakers, you felt like the biggest celebrity in the building. Everybody heard your name. For just a minute, it felt like the whole place was celebrating with you on your birthday. And it never felt bad. Looking back, it really wasn't about roller skating. It was about belonging. And for a few hours every Friday or Saturday night, depending on when you went, the roller rink was our neighborhood. It was our social media, our community center, our concert, our hangout. Everything happened there. Friendships started there. First crushes happened there. And embarrassing moments happened there too. Memories that somehow lasted 50 years all started on that wooden floor. Today, a lot of those roller skating rinks are gone. Music stopped. The disco balls taken down. The floors were torn out, but if you grew up going every weekend like I did, I bet they're still playing in your memory. Sometimes I wonder, whatever happened to the members of the Flying Lions or the Zodiacs? Life moved on. We all grew up. But for a few years, every Friday night, we weren't thinking about growing up. We were just kids at that roller rink, convinced we had all the time in the world. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that these side notes that I decided to do, they aren't really about the past. They're about remembering the little things that somehow turned out to be the big things. Well, tell me, did your group have a name when you did roller skating rinks? Did you have custom skates? What songs nowadays instantly take you back to a roller skating rink days? Were you one of those people who could actually skate backwards? Or were you like the rest of us and just pretended you could and tried not to fall? Sometimes, and I say this seriously, the places may disappear, but the memories never do.